Welcome to Behind the Badge with your special guest, Lieutenant Williams, your news source for all things police in the city of Fond du Lac.
Welcome back into News Talk 1450, 100.7 KFIZ. Now joined by Lieutenant Williams for Behind the Badge. Good morning, Lieutenant. How's it going?
Good morning. It's busy as always busy.
Of course. And that weather we saw earlier this week, I'm sure that didn't help things any.
No, the school cancellation was a good thing for us. I think it kind of kept a little bit of the people off the roads, so that I think it kind of kept the crashes down as far as the city's concerned. The county's always a little bit more influenced by that weather than us because they got higher speeds and stuff. And typically in the city, if we do have crashes, it's lower property damage, and usually people aren't hurt, and if they are, it's pretty minor.
As we get ready for today's topic, what's on the agenda?
So today I was thought it'd be kind of interesting to just run down what it would be like as a typical police officer, what a day looks like for them. So it's kind of weird because I'm a little removed. I am kind of in an office job now, so hopefully I can remember, and if there's officers listening to this and I get things wrong, I hope they're not cringing at what I say.
So how long have you been more in, I guess, a desk role is what we'll call what you do right now, right?
A desk role only since September. I was a lieutenant on night shift, so I'd still say I was kind of on the road then. I'm going to give myself a little bit of street cred for about 3/4 of a year. And then before that, I was in the schools, and I was far removed from patrol in my own world over at Savers there. But before that, I've got the 18 years or so on the road. So, I got that. I got the experience.
All right, let's hop right into the last thing you remember when you were on the road, I guess.
Well, a typical patrol officer will come into work, and depending on, we have 3 different shifts right now. We could add different shifts at later times, but they come into work, and every patrol officer starts at briefing. So we basically break it down, and a briefing is run by the lieutenant that runs the shift. And we go through basically everything that's been happening in the city for the last period of a day. And whether it be, accidents like we just talked about, or domestics, or people we need to look for, cars we need to look for, it's all kind of gone over in that briefing. We also cover what we call DAP locations, which is directed area patrol, but places where they'd like to see the officers patrol a little bit more often. So when people say, hey, we're seeing a lot of speeders down on North Park Avenue, that's where we would go over that in briefing. And so we want to do more of a presence, or we want to do more presence at people in crosswalks during school crossings and stuff like that. But that's where all that information is relayed. And we actually have a web-based thing where we can go, and officers can look at that basically at any time. So if they missed something in briefing or forgot what address, they can pull it back up and kind of look at it. Also during that briefing is kind of my forte is I have a little bit of a training section where they can watch updated videos of police interactions that either have gone bad or have gone good, and they can use that as kind of ways to train to see a good rep or a bad rep and improve themselves as officers. So the briefings are very important. They're pretty well attended. They have to be attended, but they also get assigned their sections. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but there are 3 main sections in the city of Fond du Lac. We have the west, the central, and the east. And officers are typically assigned a district, so west, central, east, and they stay in that district. And the feeling behind that is we want the public to get to know an officer. So if you have a random officer in your district all the time, you're not going to really get to know anyone, and that person's just an officer. We want that officer to be a face and a name that they recognize. So if they always know, hey, Officer Jones is in the East District. Oh yeah, I know Officer Jones, and maybe they'll feel more comfortable about reporting crimes to him. And that officer, we don't have an Officer Jones, by the way, but that officer will be someone that will know about what's going on. Oh yeah, we had car break-ins here in the past, or something like that. So that's kind of why we do the district policing as we do. And so each one of those districts has 2 sections in it. So those assignments go out during that briefing. So that's when the officers find out where they're going to be, and they can find out what they're going to be.
So what is the section that everybody wants? Is there a section?
So it really depends. That's a great question. And depending on what shift we went to, there might be some debate over that. Because the sections are busier in different times. Right. So like right now, the East District is not as busy, but all of a sudden when the pool opens up, it starts getting a little bit busier.
Gotcha.
The central district is usually the busiest. It's the smallest district, but it's got kind of the most people per capita. It also has all the bars in it, so at nighttime, that's the busiest the district or whatever. So the central district is probably still the busiest, but the west, that used to have a lot more shoplifting and stuff like that.
Okay.
But now with the mall being closed and stuff like that, that's kind of gone down. But they still have their fair share of that. So they like each district has its own personality.
Gotcha.
It's kind of different. And those officers that are in those districts, usually, they are good at those things that their district, needs the most. So that's kind of another good reason to have districts.
And you're talking about the morning briefings. How early before your shift is an officer supposed to start up? Say, is 6 a.m. whenever first shift starts, or what time is the shift supposed to start?
So we're really lucky in Fond du Lac. We all work 9-hour shifts, and the shifts overlap then. So our first shift would start at 6:30, and they would work till 3:30. But the night shift gets done at 7:30. So there's like an hour overlap where there's double coverage, and that allows those officers coming on to attend briefing.
Yep.
For that first half hour, because the briefing usually takes about a half hour. And that second half hour, it allows our night shifters, they can do something called on-duty fitness training. So they can actually work out while on duty, provided there's no hot calls or anything like that, but they can actually work out that last half hour of their shift, which has been a great thing for stress reduction and for just keeping officers overall healthy. And it's the same way on all the shifts. So, first shift gets done at 3:30, but technically they're off the road at 2:30, or they're off the road at 3, and second shift starts at 2:30, and kind of so on and so forth. So briefing's a big deal. That having those overlaps is nice, especially if you have to do reports. Like you have reports for the day, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna get held over. So it actually saves us a little bit of overtime because you're technically done with your shift a half hour before you need to be. So you can get those reports done, hopefully, and get those handed. Because some things like arrests and health, they have to be done that day.
Gotcha. And this is not something you're walking into the building at 6:30, right? You're ready to go at 6:30.
You are reporting ready for briefing at 6:30. Yeah. So you're ready to go. Once you get done with briefing, which usually takes about a half hour, then you go to your squad car. You got to do your squad car checks. We do our weapons checks, all like taser, our rifles. Everything we check it all over, and then we kind of hit the streets. Now sometimes there's that hot call that gets us out of briefing and we get going, but other than that, a normal typical day, we do our squad checks, we hit the road, and everyone's kind of got their own styles for patrol. And that's kind of the neat thing about being a police officer is there's a different way to do it. Not everybody does it the same way, and so you have a lot of different personalities, and your personality can kind of show on how you patrol. So it really opens it up to what you're interested in. Like some people might be interested in drug interdiction. Some people might be interested in doing traffic. Some people, I don't know who they would be interested in parking tickets. Which I will say this, winter ordinance does end March 15th.
March 15th, that's coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to get a cake or something that's shaped like a parking ticket, I think, for me, because I'm the one that takes all the parking ticket complaints. So if you're out there and you're complaining about if you're doing the appeal process for parking tickets, I'm the one on the other end of that computer. So
do you guys get a lot of parking tickets for winter parking?
Yes, we encourage our officers to write them because lo and behold, just like this last week's here, the plows have to get through the streets, and if the people aren't doing winter ordinance, if they're not parking where they should be, the plows can't get down the streets, and then everyone complains about the streets being. So we get complaints from the city and from the public that their street wasn't plowed, and from the city saying that we need these cars ticketed or whatever. So it's a lot, and we encourage our night shifters to write tickets so that people are in compliance. Now, we've done this ever since I've been in here, so you'd think that everyone would be in compliance. That's just not the case. People need those reminders, and the tickets have gone up. I remember they used to be $5 when I started.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they are no longer $5. Our number one goal is for people to be in compliance. So we're not super hardcore, but we're hardcore enough where we want to get this done so that the streets can be clean. And the number one complaint is like, well, it's not supposed to snow that day. Well, unfortunately, we can't wait for that because you got to get people to set a pattern in their
Right.
life, and if you don't, then it's just going to be mass chaos when that big snow comes.
This is Behind the Badge on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. We got Lieutenant Williams in the studio this morning, kind of running through the day of a patrol officer. Now, we started with briefing, and then you kind of, you check out everything with your vehicle, you check out everything, your weapons, anything on your belt. But after that, there isn't a typical day, right? Because it could be any kind of call.
It's very officer dependent, and yeah, and you're also responding to the radio. So you might have like previous reports you have to work on, or follow up you have to do, like getting like surveillance video from a previous call or something like that. But yeah, you're kind of all over the place, and you are at the whim of the radio. So when people call in, and if it's something in your section, you're gonna head to that, and that takes you basically to the end of the day. You got to get your reports done. You try to get them all done by the end of the day. That's most patrol officers' dream, is just to become be even at the end of the day. Like that. That's a good feeling to not have any carryover reports. That's detectives. They come into work and they have 12 to 15 reports that they're down all the time because they're bigger cases or whatever. And that was always the reason I never want to be a detective. But it's always a good feeling if you end your day even for the day. So.
And then you just gotta go home and relax, and then do it all again the next day, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Knowing that you made a difference.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, but other than that, yeah, that's kind of a typical day for patrol. As always, we have a lot of stuff going on still. Just a quick little update on that is our 3 officers that we started off with are almost done. They're almost done. So we're excited to get them on the road. That's going to help us with some overtime issues, some gaps in there, and it's nice. We've got like segments, like we've got Officer Barrett, like a month and a half later. Then we have Officer U-Paddle, who's just starting. So it'll be like another month and a half after Barrett. And we're having a hiring process March 1st, which is going to go quick. We're going down to Fox Valley Tech to actually do a process down there because we have a lot of students that are interested in. So we're going to bring the process to them. So I've been organizing that, and then hopefully we have some more candidates to bring on this show shortly after that. And from the pool, it looked like we have a good number, and we have some decent candidates in that pool. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Now, before I let you get out of here, I want to circle back to the whole sections, east, west, and central. Then it's almost kind of divided north and south, right?
Yep.
How many officers are we talking about each shift? Is like each one of these is covered with one officer? Do we have a little carryover too, or?
Yeah, it depends. There's minimums, and it depends on what shift. The second shift is a lot busier, so their shift minimums a little bit higher.
Gotcha.
But at least we at least like to have one in each one of those sections. So like 6, we don't like to go below too often. So, but usually we can get above that. Seconds, we wouldn't want to go below 7 as far as that. But often, once we get our numbers back up, it'll be much more than that. And I mean, when we're talking minimums, like that's call to call. The second shift is a busy shift, and they need a lot of officers. And luckily, our city has granted us that. We just got to get them up on the road as we go here. We got a little bit of a shortfall. Hopefully, we can get that covered and start working on those additional 6 officers, and then we're going to really see our chances, the service that we provide upped. Basically, we can do more community things. We can do more special things that you're going to see us a lot more. But first thing we got to do is get the officers there, and they're coming. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but they're coming, and they're good ones. The ones that we're getting have been awesome. So.
And that's the number one thing, right? You want to get the right people, and not just have a warm body.
Yeah, and I can say we haven't really cut our expectations down for the officers that we have. They've been all going through the same processes and stuff like that. We haven't lowered our expectations, but the new officers have been stepping up, so it's been going pretty good.
Awesome. That's Lieutenant Williams. We appreciate him joining us this morning for Behind the Badge.